What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Axis Football, Baltimore Paladins, the 2027 season. To give you a recap of what happened last year, 15-1 record. We beat Arizona, we beat Seattle, we beat Philadelphia to get into the number one tier. And even though we didn't have the best linebackers available in the draft, we focused on replacing the linebackers that we knew we were going to let go in free agency. We actually have our first injury-free season, although when we got to the playoffs, we lost our starting tight end Stuart Washington and lineman Garrett Padilla. We didn't sign replacements, though. We did the year prior when we had a quarterback go down, but we did not this time. In the draft, aforementioned linebacker strong, round 1, Morgan Silva, round 2, Ashton Frazier, halfback, round 3, Galvin Ridley, linebacker, round 4, a great football name, Rudy Reese, tight end, round 5, Carson Hunt, our punter, round 6, Kenny Kane, great linebacker name, round 7, Tyson Fernandez, again, a great linebacker name. And with that, we released halfbacks, including longtime starter Clayton McKinney and Connor Bates. We released tight end Cameron Perkins, longtime starting linebacker Clayton Vaughn, and as well as the original punter we've had on the team, Wayne Carson. Defensive back Fernando Black declined an $11.2 million 3-year contract. Defensive back Jonathan Sharp signed a $5.2 million 5-year deal. As far as a lot of changes in our coaching staff, we re-signed offensive coordinator Tyree Clayton. We re-signed halfback coach Gregory Massey. We re-signed linebacker coach Cody Lawson. Wide receiver coach Devon Mack was replaced by Rogelio Santiago. Offensive line coach Charles Chavez was replaced by Trenton Brown. Defensive back coach Eugene Olson was replaced by Patrick Bruno. All of our scouts were re-signed, and at the season's end, we kept a promise to our fans to increase their vendor area. One thing we did not do for the first time is sign free agents, just because there really weren't any decent free agents to have as we go in to the toughest season we've had in this franchise. We're going to go with the squad we've pretty much drafted and groomed. Obviously, we talked about having a lot of money, but I want to see how this season goes before we go in and make those financial commitments to improve the stadium, improve the team, because, we really don't know where this season is going to lead us. However, I do want to go over here real quick, talk about the depth chart, because we know the inevitable is going to happen here with Max Micado. At some point, we're going to have to start to look in to replacing our quarterback as he enters his 30s. Johnny Poole has been a serviceable backup, but I feel like we need to really focus on a quarterback this year. Running backs are also going to be a really tricky proposition because Colby Waters has been here, but you know what? He's not a proven starter. So I think what we really need to do is take a look at every other position across the board other than linebacker. We are A's. In kicker. But to be honest with you, those are kind of a dime a dozen. So I think what we have to do at this point is determine where we're going to see the biggest trend with this scouting report. Is it going to be quarterback? Is it going to be halfback? That's going to have to become the focus because one of them has got to become the leader. So it looks like with halfbacks, it's all C's, an F, a D. So D plus across the board for running backs, and the West, Central, and Northeast. I don't know that we can even scout anything other than a kicker out of the Southeast. So I guess that leaves it at that. So we're going to go over to the Southeast here, and we're just going to change the focus to a kicker. I guess we'll just do all kicker, right? Keep it all kicker all the time. We're going to go ahead. And actually, believe it or not, if that wasn't a Freudian slip, we went to a quarterback. So we're going to go ahead and change the focus here to quarterbacks. And I guess we're just going to have to hope for the best. That this is going to be the replacement season for our quarterback. At least drafting the replacement. I feel like, if nothing else, this might be a game where we let our quarterback sit behind another quarterback for a little bit of time. Now, just like we did before, I think we need to go about midway down some of these. I mean, we should be able to scout just about all these kickers completely. I think we need to go about midway down the list because we're probably going to end up there as far as getting a pick, hopefully, toward the middle of the first round. So going out here, getting our first games under our belt against Pittsburgh. We are going to win our first Division I game. We are going to lose our second. So we are 1-1. We don't have it. So that's a positive so far. This should be the toughest run we have. Game apparently does not get harder than this. We're 3-1. We still have no injuries. Although we're not leading our division. Denver is undefeated. Continue to move along here. We have now dropped 2 games, so we are 4-2. We still have no injuries. Let's go ahead and spend some of these points on some quarterbacks. Hope I didn't go too far down the board there. I feel like I'm not spending the points that he has. I am now. And the kickers, we might as well just go through everybody. I literally feel like we're going to have the best idea of all those kickers. We might actually have more points than we can spend. We are now 4-3, which means the playoffs may not be a total option. 5-4. Do a real quick injury check. We have 2. Logan Bullen, who was our backup halfback, has herniated his disc. He's out for the season. Garrett Padilla, who is a lineman we just re-signed, is out for 6 weeks. So let's see if we can't pull a halfback from the practice squad. We don't have one. We should have an offensive lineman, Gary Knight. I don't think that this is going to be too big of an issue. So Devonte Nash comes in. Try to go back and see when we signed Devonte Nash. It wasn't this year. It was the year before. Devonte Nash was our 4th rounder last year. So be interesting to see how he steps into to that role. We're going to actually go a game or two and check his stats and see how he compares. So that is a 5-4 season. That is a 6-4 season. Do a real quick injury check since it's done, essentially. And we will go and take a look at the stats here. I actually want to go to team leaders and just see Colby Waters, 213 attempts, averaging 6.2 yards for Logan Bullen, who was replaced by Nash, who has an average of 18.6. Okay, with your breakaway runs, we see you. No touchdowns, a long of 93. So he's really, as our backup, only carried the ball about 5 times. So I guess there's really not much data there to analyze as we go 7-4, 7-5. This will be fringe playoffs. Still no more injuries. Let's go ahead and burn out these scouting points. Guess we'll go further on down. I guess it would be beneficial to have the top 7 or 8 quarterbacks. You assume all teams aren't going to need one available. And I'm pretty sure we may not have any more need for scouting points on those kickers. So, 6-6, 7-5. This is a critical Week 13 matchup that we win, so that's positive. 8-5 on the season now. We have 2 more injuries. We've lost wide receiver Charles Foster, and we've lost our starting halfback now to a concussion. So that means all the pressure goes on the rookie. And we are in the thick of what would be a playoff push. Let me just see if there's anybody that we can sign in free agency here as far as running backs are concerned. Angelo Robertson, anybody that's just fast? I mean, we're kind of midway through the season here. More than that. I wonder what type of contract he wants. $10 million. Jeffrey George wants 5.2. It's another situation where all we need is a stopgap player. So I think we're going to go ahead and sign Jeffrey George just to a 1-year deal. We're going to give him a little more than he wants. And he signed with Indianapolis. I mean, this guy, get out of here, Indianapolis. So I guess that's going to leave us with Grayson Barrett. Nobody else really interested. We'll give him a bump up, and we'll give him 2 years. Maybe he didn't like the years. So Angelo Robertson is going to be our fill-in for, I guess, the better part of 2 weeks here. I hate to do that, but at the same time, we're going to go ahead and send Quentin, our other McKinney, to the practice squad, and then we'll go ahead and bring him over. And he may get the start. I got to look at team morale. Team morale's 100. Okay, if it wasn't, this could have been an issue. Benching a player. We are going to send Grayson Barrett over to the. I know people are going to say, but he's a C, and Quentin was a C+. I'm worried about the speed, guys. So we're going to send Grayson over to the active roster, and we are going to go ahead and put him in at the backup running back position. And instead, for some reason, I went to free agency. So Corbin Blake is going to get pulled. There's all the injured players, and we're going to throw Grayson in. So we'll see how he can handle the last 3 weeks of this season with some fresh legs. May not matter if we continue to drop games. 8-6. Nebraska 5-9. This is kind of like a must-win game. And we win it 9-6. We'll see if our MASH unit has increased, and it hasn't. So that's the back. Still, well, all right. We're still down at least one receiver. We'll go ahead in here and pull Colby Waters for Grayson, and then Grayson is going to get pulled back for... No, we wouldn't have done that, but I thought we just got someone back. I guess we lost our backup, so we need to reverse what we just did. Colby becomes the starter, and Devonte Nash becomes the backup. There we go. That's the way it should have been. Although I do like the fact that I guess we have to stick with the girl that we drafted, right? Stick with the girl that brought us that we brought to prom. Although I feel like Grayson may be better short term. We'll reevaluate their numbers once we hit the off season. We do not make the playoffs, I believe. No, we did. We make the playoffs. We play Kansas City, who went 8-8. We beat Kansas City. We play Green Bay. We have no more injuries. Let's go ahead and knock out the rest of this. I guess we need to be at the bottom of the barrel now because we certainly aren't getting a top flight pick. And we've exhausted everything that we can on those guys. So everyone is scouted to the max potential from a kicker standpoint, and I feel like we've got a pretty good grasp on our quarterbacks. So we are going to play in the championship cup here. We are going to lose the championship game. So we actually made it to the second round, which isn't bad. Going into the offseason, we've already got one retired player. Corey Ireland. No retired coaches. Let's go over and take a look at the stats here. We're going to look at our team leaders and try to make a determination on what we want to do with these running backs. So Nash did fairly well. Although Bullen did not get any touchdowns, he certainly had opportunities. Grayson Barrett came in, 8 attempts, 6 yards. So I think we made the best decision keeping him out. So he will... He may actually be one of the first players we release without actually going through a contract negotiation. That's terrible. We would have been much better off actually just keeping the players that we had. We'll see who the best on the bench is. It's going to be Alan Andrews. We'll send him over to the active roster, and then we'll go through here, take a look at player progressions, and then go into the draft to try to find us a new quarterback. So player progressions, Johnny Poole. He's going to make it difficult. He went up 2 overall. So even though he's a B, we can't actually see the numeric value. So he obviously knows there's a quarterback incoming. That's going to be an interesting thing to deal with because I feel like now he's in position to be a starter. So he's actually at Max's level or higher with the exception of TLB. I'm not sure what TLB is. So he literally has put himself in position to be our starter. Look at these running backs. Not really by committee, but a lot of people advancing, wide receivers. Why wouldn't they be? They know they're getting a new quarterback. Take a look at the line. I mean, listen, guys, if you already don't know, these hoes, I mean, I'm telling you, Billy Ho was our first pick ever. First draft pick, and look at this guy. A's across the board. I mean, he is just an incredible Ho. So good job out of Billy Ho. Linebackers there, we're doing well. Defensive backs, probably aside from myself, just age catching up to me, man. And Jerome Harvey. Kicker, punter, can't hate on that season. So we will to the draft, and we will have an eye on a quarterback. And really, this is quite intriguing. Where did all our quarterbacks go? We literally scouted a ton of them. Oh, I hate to be in this position because we already know that who we have at quarterback is just as good, if not better, than Terrell Osborne. So let's see if there's A's anywhere across the board. And there is not. Well, of course, from a punter. So, you know, even though conventional wisdom would say not to draft Terrell Osborne, we put the investment into scouting him, and got to take a look at Marquis Stokes here as well. So Terrell Osborne is 22. Marquis Stokes is 21. Stokes has more or better throwing power. Actually, not as good throwing power, but is more accurate, is a little less aware. The fitness has been an issue. So I think we're going to have to go with the best player on the board despite the year. Go ahead and take a look at where we are with players now. Nobody out here with elite speed. We're pretty much set at tight end. An offensive lineman with A blocking, Justin Ward. We're going to keep an eye on Justin Ward. We are definitely going to keep an eye on Justin Ward. I feel like the B's out here really just no B. B is going to be our best grade. Let's go with Mario Castro. Last time we drafted a Mario, it didn't go well. We drafted a Mario at quarterback, and we actually didn't. Then he left the league. So we're going to go back, see if there's any other decent players around here. There's a kicker that we don't need. There's a punter that we don't really need. Marquis Stokes is still here. Might as well pull the trigger. Let's go back and see if we can't find that really, really good blocking lineman, Justin Ward. He's still not on the board. Take a defensive lineman here, possibly. Don't like the speed. How about a defensive back? B+ speed for Larry Parker. It's going to be our 4th round pick. I know this lineman's going to get away, but he really shouldn't. Justin Ward, he is right there on the fringe. So we're going to pull the trigger, maybe a little early, but we're going to pull the trigger on A blocking Justin Ward. And then we're going to go ahead. Maybe we waited too long on our kickers because we definitely had everyone scouted. Kick power goes to Alvarez. Kick accuracy goes to Fowler. Part of me wants to have a kicking competition. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in both kickers, believe it or not. We've got a little bit of money, and halfway through the season, we're going to skip these guys through. Overall, I would say that's not our best draft. A lot of C players, but I feel like we accomplished what we needed to when we went into the draft. Obviously, we'll have to see what free agency can bring us, but going into player contracts, I think although I don't want to do this, I feel like it is time to let Johnny Poole wants $20 million to be a backup quarterback. I mean, we can't have that. I mean, I'll give him an opportunity to stay for a longer-term deal, but clearly his riding the bench has inflated his ego. I mean, I don't even want to offer him that type of money. We go back and take a look. How much did we sign Max Micado for? Like, I feel like that's more money than we paid our starting quarterback. We re-signed him 3 seasons ago. I have a spreadsheet in front of me, so I actually keep track of what we're doing. Max Micado, I guess we would have signed him 3 seasons ago. I'm trying to go back and find the amount. I might not have actually wrote down the amount. I didn't. But I will go back and look. I feel like this is a substantial amount of money. And I don't even feel like offering him $10 million is going to matter. So we're going to let Johnny Poole go. It was a good run, backup quarterback. He came in and played a couple games for us, but that's just an insane amount of money. We will go ahead and sign both. Of course, our pick wants $7.44 million, but we'll go ahead and sign him and Stokes. Maybe Stokes do a 2-year deal because that's a lot of money sitting on the bench. Logan Bullen. Christian Hodges. These guys are essentially almost one and the same. $3.4 million for 5 years, $1.9 million for 5. We're going to go with Hodges, and we're going to release Logan Bullen, even though technically he was our starter. Charles Fall. Actually, you know what? We're going to go back as well. We're going to release Grayson Barrett. That was the player we picked up out of free agency. And maybe we'll look for a halfback in free agency because obviously Colby Waters, 31 years old. I don't think that our other players were the answer either. Charles Foster, 28-year-old wide receiver. Let's see what he wants. I'm comfortable with $8 million. Taking a look at our offensive line. Justin Ward gets the long-term deal. Dante Burgess and Omar Cruz. You know, Omar had injury issues his first couple years, but he seemed to be over it. We'll offer him a little less than he wants. All right, maybe a little bit more. Okay. Unfortunately, though, I think it's time to let Dante go. Just a 31-year-old lineman. This is also one of our players that have been regressing. So, although, you know what? For $3.6 million, now he only wants $3.5 million. So he literally was like, we went in and we looked at you, and then when we came back, you wanted less. I think for $3.5 million, we got to have him just as an insurance policy. I wonder if we can renegotiate. I guess we can't. I'm fearing how much Billy Ho is going to want when it comes to free agency because this guy has, both of these hoes. Both of these hoes are going to be up for contracts pretty soon, guys. And I just hope we can keep our hoes. You don't want to lose when you have a good set of hoes. You just don't want to lose them, right? You want to make sure these hoes keep working for you. And that's what we're trying to do at the old Baltimore Paladins. And we got $293 million to pay our hoes. So I think our hoes have earned it. I don't know why I wanted to give him that much of a bump up. But Angelo Thompson, every time Angelo Thompson comes up for free agency, I mull releasing him, and then he takes less money. So we're going to go ahead this time. And this guy right here has been the bane of our existence. He's on a 1-year deal. So we traded for Samuel Latrell, Wade Wise to Chicago. Wade Wise has been their starting linebacker ever since. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to release Angelo Thompson. We're going to put Sam Latrell in his place. And we better hope that Sam Latrell can actually hold his weight. Because if not, he's going to be replaced in the draft next year. Take a look at all these. I thought that was a rookie. It's not. Alexis Franklin is going to hit the door just because we got a much less expensive defensive back behind him in Larry Parker. Jerome Harvey, 33 years old. I think we're going to have to let him go as well, which means, somebody else here is on the cutting block, not to mention any names, but hopefully I retire before that happens. And I didn't actually take a look at kickers, so I need to go back in kickers and punters. Punter, kickers. Well, I guess we know what we're going to do with old Jason. One of our original players, man. Stinks to see him go, but, at the same time, we're going to get these guys in a 2-year kickoff. I think this will actually be fun. And then we'll sign the best one. We'll literally rotate them in and out, give us something else to do in the franchise. Why not? Now take a look at the free agency and start the next season. I don't believe we have any coaches. We have one unsigned coach. Who can it be? It must be, right there it was. Raphael Sherman. He's our defensive line coach. He's been great with the hose. Raphael Sherman definitely knows the hose. Let's see if there's anybody out here with a badge, though. Inspirational leader, defensive back expert, receiving expert, players coach, drill master, special teams guru. Any of these guys really solid on defense? Billy Hayden. You know what? I think we're going to have to... We haven't seen special teams be an issue. Right? This guy's got a decent record. We're gonna replace him with Billy Hayden. As long as Billy takes the contract. He wants a little bit more money. All right, Billy. Getting out of control here, Chief. $5.3 million is your final offer. All right, then. You know what? You don't play with you don't want these hoes? Then fine. We're gonna re-sign Raphael Sherman. He didn't even flinch. Raphael knows how good our hoes are. Drafting the hose was the best thing I could do from a joke perspective. All right, next season, here we come. Not sure if we're prepared as we should be. Take a look at free agency. Let me just take a real quick look at what we need. Quarterback, we're set. We really need to look at a running back. Wide receiver, we're set. Although we gotta think about Sean Murray going out at some point. Sam Luttrell, as we mentioned, has came in as our linebacker in what is the ultimate make or break year for Sam Luttrell. It's going to be a story to watch next week. Defensive backs, we got the best defensive backs in the league. So I'd really like to get a young running back here. 30 years old is what they have to offer us. Sheldon Brewer. Is there anyone else here that is A? There's Ernesto Grant, defensive lineman, that's an A. I'll tell you, the pickings in free agency have been slim to say the least. So I think we sold out on quarterback. I think next year we have to sell it on halfback. Let's see if we can't bring in Sheldon Brewer on a 1-year deal. He wants a lot of money for a 30-year-old halfback. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So we're going to go see who we can demote here. Probably Sheldon Nash. Send him back to the practice squad. And even though that's a lot of money for 1 year, it lets us know where we need to be. So I feel like being one step away from winning the championship, one of the pieces was injured running backs. So this fills that for 1 year and puts us in a much better position, I think, to be successful, even if that obviously isn't. How do we go from having like some of the youngest running backs behind them, right? I mean, we got guys in our 20s, and we're going to roll off the grid here with 30 and a 31-year-old. So with that said, go ahead and take a look at the facilities here. We did make some commitments to improving things if we maintained, and I got to say, we maintained. So let's take a look at what we have to deal with here. The spa or the sauna. Training, the pool room. This is player progressions, team morale, and injury recovery. Team morale is not an issue for us. I don't really feel like injury recovery time has been as well. This affects the injury chance, recovery time, and morale. That's excellence. I don't know why I'm looking at that. This affects the injury chance, team morale. I guess they're going to do the same things. So what is the least expensive proposition here? We are going to get them the sauna, which is the middle of the road. The pool room is $40 million. The sauna is right there in the middle. So transportation, everything looks good or excellent. Rehab, we just upgraded. Training, everything looks fair. And then our fans have it pretty good, man. They got a winning team on the field. They got, some sweet jerseys. Whether they want either hoe on the line, they have that option. And we just upgraded literally within the past 2 years the restrooms, the vendor areas, and the seating. So clearly they beat on these seats a whole lot because they went from excellent to good. And clearly they beat on our vendor area because we just upgraded it. But hey, at least they're keeping the bathrooms squeaky clean. So take a look at the revenue we brought in last year, getting to the championship game. And I'd say we're in pretty good shape. Look at that. Every year we're making a little bit. Well, I guess we didn't make as much money last year, but we were new in the tier. It's hard to really get a float of what we're doing. We did pay the most last year in terms of salaries, but coaches paid a little bit less, facilities a little bit more, but we're making those investments into the team. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you watching this, and I will be back not tomorrow. I will not do this during Thursday Night Football, but I will be back on Friday, and we'll go through that season. And we got a lot of questions answered. Linebackers, wide receivers, old running backs, kickers. Make sure you're here to watch it. I will be back then with more coming.